Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Blame It on the Stars, where we give you an inside look at what's going on in the universe so you can blame your problems on the stars. It is Jade here.
And it's Kara.
And this week, we've got some big changes going on. We have Neptune entering Aries, Saturn sextiling Uranus, and Mercury Retrograde will be coming to an end. But in case you missed it, last week we talked all about Venus retrograding into Pisces, and there was a solar eclipse in Aries. So if you want to know more about that, then definitely check out last week's episode before diving into this one.
And just to give you a heads up, next week we will tell you everything that you need to know about the full moon in Libra, the end of Venus retrograde, and Saturn conjunct the North Node.
And with that being said, let's dive into the episode. So the first thing that happens this week technically happened yesterday, which was Neptune entered the sign of Aries. This happened on March 30th at 8:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And per usual, the date and time are from the website astroseek.com. What you need to know. Neptune entering Aries is essentially the start of a new era. Neptune is a very slow-moving outer planet, which tends to spend around 14 years on average in each sign. And for the past several years, we've had Neptune in Pisces, which is a sign it feels quite comfortable in. Over the years, we were focusing on our intuition. We had to work on our boundaries, and there was more of a spiritual focus. However, it takes on a much more bolder and more action-oriented vibe to it once it's now in the sign of Aries.
How you will feel. During this transit, you're going to reconnect with your intuition. The energy of Neptune and Aries blends your spiritual awareness with also your motivation, meaning you will feel more driven to chase after your dreams or goals or even redefine your personal beliefs. However, Neptune can bring about a confusing energy, so it's still important to stay grounded to make sure that you are making practical decisions as you're working towards your goals.
Where this will show up in your life. Honestly, this might not have the most immediate or noticeable change in your personal life since Neptune is an outer planet. This will be one that's definitely more noticed on a global and societal scale. But when it comes to your personal life, there can be some shifts around things like identity, leadership, and personal independence. So you might feel more drawn to redefine your purpose or take on a much more bold and fearless approach to your goals. One thing that's worth noting is that Aries is the first sign, which can make it one that likes to lead and act quickly. But with Neptune being a more confusing energy, there can be this tendency to act a little bit more impulsively due to things we might feel really passionate about, but really haven't thought through that clearly. But like I said, this one might not make the biggest impact in your day-to-day life, but will probably show up more collectively.
What will become important to you? Themes of self-discovery and redefining who you are going to become more important. You also might feel like this is a time to break away from anything that feels restrictive or limiting so that you are able to pursue the things that truly inspire and matter to you.
If you're wondering how long this lasts, this is quite a long-term transit, but we're only getting a small taste of it this year. Neptune stays in Aries until October 22nd, when it will retrograde back into Pisces. So we will have Neptune retrograding, dipping into Pisces. And then next year, in January of 2026, is when Neptune will re-enter Aries.
The signs that are most affected by Neptune in Aries are Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. Personal placements only, meaning Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Venus, or Mars placements.
So the next thing that happens does actually happen this week, which is Saturn sextiling Uranus. This will happen on April 4th at 12:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what you need to know. This is an aspect where we're going to be blending the stability of Saturn with the more change-oriented sign of Uranus, and this is a positive aspect. So with these two planets working together, there is this opportunity for us to be more innovative and think outside the box, but in a way that's much more sustainable and practical, so we can make these changes and build things in a way that is a little bit more tangible versus chaotic.
How you will feel. This aspect can bring about a feeling where you want to find more balance between freedom and stability. If there's been some things going on that you want to change or habits that you want to start developing, this could be a good time to make those changes in a way that allows them to be made easily and last for a while. Also, if there's something that you've been thinking about trying, but maybe it feels a little bit risky, this energy can help give you some confidence as you are trying to move forward or try something new.
So where this will show up in your life, this could most likely appear in areas of like career or where you're seeking personal growth. So this could be a good time to break free from old routines that really aren't working out for you anymore, while still maintaining a sense of structure that you need in order to feel secure. In our interpersonal relationships, there could be a mix where some people want to really solidify certain commitments and follow through with things, where others might realize that they need more independence, since this is a transit about balancing and blending stability with change.
What will become important to you? Your main focus around this time will be embracing change while maintaining stability. Instead of making changes because you feel maybe a little bit bored or impulsive, this transit is more about making intentional changes and being strategic in the way that you are transforming and making changes in your life.
So the next thing happening in astrology that you need to know about does technically happen next week, but we did just want to talk about it now because we're all excited for it, is Mercury stationing direct in Pisces. This happens on April 7th at 7:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What you need to know. This means Mercury retrograde is over when Mercury stations direct. This means that the confusion, the delays, the miscommunication that might have happened over the last few weeks will start to be coming to an end. So if things have felt kind of slow or a little bit uncertain, this will bring much more clarity and focus back into our day-to-day.
How you will feel. As Mercury continues to move forward, you can expect things to gradually return to clear thinking and better communication. However, because Mercury is still in Pisces and there is a little bit of a post-shadow phase, things can feel a little bit foggy at first, or there might be certain things that need to be resolved from the retrograde period. However, do know that eventually everything will become more direct once Mercury re-enters Aries on April 16th.
Where this will show up in your life, you'll most likely notice this will show up when it comes to your ability to make decisions, have conversations, and in any daily routines. There's going to be some improvements happening there, but any lingering confusion from Mercury retrograde will likely start to clear up, making it much easier for you to move forward with the more important plans that you might have put off or weren't able to execute.
What will become important to you? Your focus is going to shift towards clarity, expression, and also moving forward. If you've been holding off on any big decisions, especially if there's some lingering decisions from the retrograde period, this could be time to make those decisions and start to take action on the different goals and things that you set for yourself.
If you're wondering how long this lasts, Mercury will enter Aries on April 16th at 2:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that could also be April 15th if you're in a different time zone. But something to know is that the post shadow will still be happening until April 26th. So there could be some lingering retrograde energy that might pop up until then.
The signs that are most affected by Mercury stationing direct in Aries are Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, personal placements only, meaning Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Venus, or Mars.
Normally, at this point in the episode, we would tell you the key dates that you're going to want to pay attention to once Mercury retrograde is over. But once Mercury stations direct in Pisces, there are no aspects that Mercury will make until Mercury moves into Aries. So no, we did not skip the key dates. There are none this week. But that is it for this week's episode. Just a reminder, next week we'll be talking all about the full moon in Libra, Venus retrograde coming to an end, and Saturn conjuncting the North Node. So if you want to know more about that and how it will affect you, then make sure wherever you're listening to the podcast, you're subscribed with the notifications turned on so you don't miss when we post next week. But until then, that is all for now, and we'll see you all next Monday.